We haven't been talking about Fantom for quite a while on this channel, but I think we should, because Fantom in the end is still at market rank 72. It's the 72nd largest cryptocurrency in terms of market cap, $500 million. Now, why should we look at Fantom? Because it's comparatively cheap now, right? We want to buy low and sell high. And last time, when the Fantom price was that depressed, we afterwards saw a rally of more than 15x. Now, will this happen again? We're going to look at different data points. So, for example, relative valuation to other competing layer ones, right? Ethereum, Avalanche, Matic, etc. We're going to look at all of these relative valuation charts, but we're also going to look at the ecosystem. What kind of decentralized apps are currently getting used? How's the total value lock developing? How is the liquid supply developing? So what kind of inflation do we currently have? Let's jump into all of that data. So let's start off with exactly that, the liquid supply curve. We did have quite a few unlocks in 2019 of like advisors and founders and the team, etc. But now, since all of these unlocks have already happened, all of the additional supply that hits the market is coming from block rewards. Now, how much is that? It's currently, according to Messari.io, 8.6% per annum. So if your Fantom stack isn't growing by 8.6% per annum, or if the adoption isn't growing by that percentage, then you're likely not going to make money from this, right? The inflation rate is directly opposed to the price. The more supply hits potentially the market, the further the price can fall. So you want to have a very low inflation rate. There are layer ones though with higher inflation rates, right? Avalanche, for example, has 20%. 8.6 is pretty much in the middle of the altcoins. Some are of course lower, but many are also higher. Now, what's going on in the Fantom ecosystem? We've seen the overall total value locked according to DeFi Llama. We saw it developing very, very nicely just up until March of this year. We saw almost 8 billion in total value locked. Now this fell down to 500 million. So a 94% decline in total value locked, which is quite a lot worse than the average DeFi protocol. If we just look at DeFi as a whole across chains, we obviously also saw a drop during this crypto winter, but it was much less pronounced. It was basically a bit over 66%, right? From 177 billion to currently 52. And this does include the Terra Luna collapse even, which basically went to zero. So Fantom does have a pretty hard time. What kind of decentralized apps are still getting used? Well, the most popular decentralized exchange, SpookySwap, and we've got a fork of Aave, or to be more specific, Aave V2, which is Geist Finance. And what comes afterwards is already present in other chains, right? Curve Finance is pretty much present everywhere. Beefy is a yield aggregator, also present pretty much on any chain. Beethoven X is originally coming from Fantom, now also expanded to Optimism. And when we look at the next Fantom-only application, we already have an Olympus DAO fork, Spartacus, which is obviously nowadays not in fashion at all, right? Any Olympus DAO fork was crashing quite a bit and there's not a lot of excitement around getting back in there. So how is then, for example, SpookySwap developing? So SpookySwap has its own statistics page, and there are basically two major metrics here. The first is the liquidity, the locked up liquidity in the different pools where you swap. The second is the trading volume. We can see the trading volume now in the last 24 hours was 4 million, coming down from at the top in one day 800 million. So we've got 0.5% of the trading volume left that we once saw during the hype times. Quite scary, given that this is the most popular of the protocols on Fantom. We've even seen large protocols altogether abandon Fantom. So for example, here with Aave, which is the original, right, where Geist Finance was forked from, Aave itself has banned or frozen the Fantom market altogether due to risk potentially. So that was a community vote, and being exposed to Fantom wasn't worth it for Aave because all they got in daily fees, according to this proposal, was $30 per day. So you can really see here a chain that was once very much favored, where a lot of development happened, that now pretty much went to ruins. And where we also don't see a lot of new applications that can pick up steam, right? Fantom, for example, another Olympus DAO fork, Reaper Farm, one of the very first yield aggregator websites. All of this was very interesting when it first came out, but the development has pretty much halted now. So on a fundamental level, what I want to see in order for this current price trend to move around are new developments, maybe new incentive programs, some kind of a glimmer of hope that does not rely on existing applications, simply just rising again like Phoenix out of the ashes. What I want to see is new development, innovation basically. Now, how did Fantom perform relative to other layer ones? So first things first, right here we've got Fantom versus Ethereum, and we have seen these kind of crashes relatively often of this kind of magnitude, right? We just overlay this crash over here with the current one. You can understand why this bottom over here was quite a nice bounce. We can also see that this bounce didn't really last long. We are back to those lower levels again. And the only thing that I could see could turn this around is something great being announced again for the chain. Fantom needs to be able to compete with, for example, Avalanche as well, right? This is Fantom versus Avalanche. And Avalanche, as mentioned before, has a pretty high inflation rate. So seeing the price moving pretty much at the same pace to AVAX is not necessarily a strength for Fantom, because Fantom should actually outperform AVAX with its lower inflation. Here we've got Fantom versus Matic at historical lows. Notice how these rallies, they are significant, right? They're basically 10x rallies, and you want to be buying low and selling high, and seeing low prices is obviously very enticing. Why not throw in a few K and hope for a 10x? And I would actually do this once there is some kind of fundamental development around this again, right? Once there are new decentralized apps that could attract new users to the chain. Those apps don't have to be completely fledged out. They don't have to yet have launched. It simply needs to be people that maybe have launched something successful in the past that are willing to give Fantom again a shot, given that it's, even in relative terms, very, very cheap right now. Deploying on Fantom, by the way, is also not hard at all, right? It's EVM compatible. You can simply just deploy anything on any of those larger chains, on most of them, right? When you've got, say, an app on Ethereum, on the Binance Smart Chain, on Avalanche, on Polygon, you can simply just deploy that exact same application on Fantom without any problem. So simply just seeing innovative projects from other chains also moving to Fantom might already be enough potentially. Let's have a look at Fantom versus Solana. Not a 100% fair comparison, because Solana is not Ethereum virtual machine compatible, but Solana also had its somewhat harder times with quite a bit of sell-off from early adopters, right? From VCs backing the Solana chain. And then we also had all these outages that Fantom, by the way, did not have. But here we see as well, Fantom is rather relatively underperforming. Fantom versus Algorand is now also in a bear trend rather since beginning of the year. And here is Fantom versus Cardano. The same thing. Since beginning of the year, an underperformance of 76%. And Cardano really didn't perform well at all. Beta used to be at $3, now we are at 35 cents, right? And Fantom was able to even underperform that. So that's a problem with the Fantom ecosystem, right? Even a protocol such as Tomb Finance, which has completely failed, it's still among the top 13 protocols within Fantom. And this is the Tomb token, which is supposed to be pegged 1-to-1 to the Fantom token. It lost its peg. 87% of the value is gone if you had invested in Tomb Finance. So a failed project, still among the top. New applications are needed for this whole thing to hopefully turn around again. So what am I doing with Fantom? And am I buying this dip? I'm waiting for interesting news to happen. I'm waiting for maybe Andre Cronje re-entering the space again. Any kind of positive news where you probably then miss some kind of a rally, but it's unlikely that you're going to miss the whole 15x or so that could potentially come from a potential revival. So wait until things stabilize, wait until something exciting happens again. And when it does, then maybe it makes sense to buy Fantom. Before that happens, I simply just stay away. At this current state, Fantom is unfortunately pretty much a dead chain. Little activity, little total value locked, no decentralized apps with any kind of innovation. I know this video is not necessarily very encouraging or very upbeat, but I hope you appreciate that this is simply my opinion that I hope to keep as objective as possible. I don't just randomly shill something. If you're wondering what I currently invest in, feel free to check out the premium membership to be found at thebitcoinstrader.com. More information is in this video over here. Hope to see you in that video, and thanks for watching this one. Bye bye.